Triple Shot Mindset.
How's your dating life going?
You know, it's great. Yesterday, I set up a quick meet and greet with the gentleman that I've been mooning over for quite some time.
The one that you're salivating over.
Salivating, yes, you can say that.
Was salivating.
Correct. And I said, yo, man, after a long, awkward walk for me in which I was holding down my own vomit for about an hour and a half, I finally said, hey, you got to set me free from the spell and set me straight. You either need to aggressively reject me so I can clear my head or just, get straight with God. What's the deal? How do you feel? Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did.
Kind of did.
And he kindly let me know I feel nothing. And I'm going after somebody else who I mentioned to you a few months ago.
Isn't that just the best?
It was great. It was cathartic.
His words. He said, I felt nothing.
No, but that was the general
Just
implication.
You're not going to say, I don't feel nothing for you.
Yeah.
You just say, I'm actually concentrating on another girl.
It was a very kind letdown, which is great. I try to keep my letdowns for others kind as well. This was the first time being in the letdown-y position, and it was kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
After that, I took a nice beachside stroll. Did not feel any emotion other than
Really?
catharsis and joy, for the record, because the pain of this desire for so long has actually been a burden.
Yeah.
So I was like, thank you,
Oh, I hear you.
gods.
I hear you.
And then on my dating life, I'm not actually pursuing a dating life. I think right now we're dating Amanda. And we're meeting needs as needs need to be met, but not looking for long-term relation.
I know for a long time you've been salivating over this young man.
Yes.
And all the discussions we've had in the office at times of break.
Which seem to be
Most of the time. We would discuss all the plans you've made in your head.
Oh, yeah.
And it was almost to a point that we all believed it to be real, and that's the path. But I'm sorry to see what transpired, but not in a way that, you didn't get the man that you wanted, because I feel like there's something better for you out there, for sure.
I also want to add to that, if I may.
Yeah, please.
In addition to making plans in my own head, this has been a great lesson on manipulating universal powers, because as someone who has access to certain channels, it is possible, I think, to get so in a space where you're aligned with what you think is reality, and it is reality. It's just not this reality.
Yeah, it's a parallel universe.
Yes, and that can be very inconvenient, but when you want something bad enough, you can move yourself out of this present objective reality. So now that I'm back in this world, it's actually a good feeling to be very grounded and feel like, okay, I'm back in objective reality where this body lives. So let's do some things with our life that make this reality better.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to go to another place, just be where you are.
Yeah.
It's been a very good lesson.
I've discovered that even though your souls may be on that same path, as human beings, we sometimes ignore the soul's wishes and we go after other needs, and that separates what was to be in a different reality. Now it becomes this reality.
Yep.
Well, I kind of get you. I have the same parallel life as you do in a mirror state.
Yep, exactly.
And so when we talked this morning about your coming to Jesus moment, I had the same coming to Jesus moment myself, but at least yours was face to face. This is what I feel. What about you? Kind of a thing. Not specifically, but mine was more of a, you learn from people who don't appreciate you, who put you as an option. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, is this what I deserve? And once I had that talk with myself, I started bawling in the mirror, but it was a good bawl. It was like a relieving, I'm no longer shackled with those fantasy feelings anymore. I'm now in reality. And then you see that person from a different standpoint. At least for me, before they were up on a pedestal, there were nothing they do would, be wrong. But now you look at them as someone who is, we're all broken to an extent, but someone who doesn't appreciate and value what's in front of them, that's God sent. In my opinion, I was God sent. And they don't value and see that, your loss. Let's go on to the next person. And there's a woman who reached out to me. By the way, hey, DP, how's it going, DP? Yeah. Anytime we talk dating, I think we should bring him into the conversation.
Iconic.
Yeah. A woman reached out to me from Insta from the day that Matthew Hussey screenshotted my profile. She became a friend and a follower, and she started liking everything I do. And recently she reached out to me and said, hey, you're easy on the eyes, something like that. So I gave her my phone number, and so we talked about an hour and a half.
On the phone?
On the phone.
Nice.
2 days ago. And 3 times in the middle of the conversation, at least, she complimented me as to what a breath of fresh air I am, what a different person I am. And she kept on saying, all the guys, they're either leading with sex, leading with flaunting their money, or a combination of the two. And I'm the only person that she's talked to that I lead with my mind and emotional intelligence. And I thought that was a, even though she lives in Ohio, I mean, I don't think there's ever going to be a romantic thing. Once you kind of understand that you're a great person and whoever's not with you, they're missing out on you. It gives you the upper hand, at least from a self-esteem standpoint. For me, it was, I'm great. Women say that all the time. You don't, but a lot of women say that. She thinks it. A lot of women say that. And if I go out without being hungry, like you go out to the supermarket, you're hungry, anything will do. If I go out there without being hungry, I think I'll energetically get people who will appreciate me and are good for my soul. So, lesson to you people who are on the dating apps, which I was till about a month ago.
So you're off.
I deleted. I
even though they keep your membership on.
They keep their membership on.
You've deleted the apps.
I get emails said, "Hey, Ardavan, install Bumble again, and you have 4 matches, right, or 4 possible people." Or there's another one, not just Hinge, and another one for single parents. I forgot what it's called.
Wow, they're trying every angle.
So you get all these emails every other day. Hey, Krista L just liked you. Please, renew your membership to see who it was. I used to be caught in the validation game of just like swiping left and right. And even though my head used to tell me, Ardavan, it's like 11:30 at night. Tomorrow you have work. You still haven't done a website for so-and-so. The need for getting validation and going through this game was so much greater, so addictive that I didn't want to leave it. There were times I used to come to the office tired as heck, but that's what I had to do at night just to keep afloat. So now that I've given that up, it was difficult, and I came to conclusion that that person that I was really liking is not the best for me because God's looking out for me, as Steve Harvey and other people have said.
Yeah.
He heard things you didn't hear. He saw things you didn't see. He knew. Yeah. So, no, God knew.
Yeah, I know. That's who I'm referring to.
That's true.
Dude, it comes down to this. I'll summarize it.
Wrap it up. Bring it home.
Well, not yet.
Bring it home. Yeah.
When you get to situations like that where there's so much you want, they don't want, it seems like you can never. It wasn't meant to be, dude. That's it. It was not meant to be. But we as human beings, we want it to be, and we make excuses. Oh, she was busy. Oh, he was, tired. Bullshit. It just wasn't meant to be, and we need to leave fantasy land aside and get in the real world. Well, we realize, you know what? If they really wanted us, they would have been knocking on our door by now.
Yeah. When you want something, you put energy and effort into it.
Yeah.
And we all deserve to have that energy and effort put into us. I realized that a big part of my attraction to this particular person, who is, in my opinion, still a great person,
Absolutely,
was wanting to become and integrate a lot of the qualities that I saw in him. And as I was reflecting on myself, I thought, wait a second, I have become and integrated so many of those qualities. I do bring sunshine to a room sometimes, and humor and lightheartedness and intelligence and charisma and fun. And all of these things I was attracted to, I was like, wait a second, but I am that too.
Yeah.
And sometimes realizing that, I think I do have, and I think creatives in general have this issue, just my opinion, to lean into codependent tendencies. Because it's like, I want to create something with someone, I want to bond, I want to go through that act of creation and integration so much that I need a person to do that with. But I took a step back and was like, wait a second, I'm starting to do that for myself now. Like, do the integration and the creation within myself. And it's really taking the load off of needing to find a person to do that.
Yeah.
Now I'm realizing, no, I can see great and wonderful people and then just integrate what I love about them into myself and be whole. It's like, it's been a game changer.
I think as creatives, we all visualize, we see things, we imagine how it's going to be, what the end game is. And that's what gets people in trouble, because you imagine, oh, this is my path. We're going to do this together. We're going to be together. We're going to get married. This is what's going to happen. We kind of go overboard with the imagination, and it becomes a part of our reality in a weird way. And then when it doesn't happen, we get all, wait a second, I imagined that it should have been, but it's not. It's reality.
100% agree with what you said.
Again,
right?
we hear this.
See,
I know where you're going though, and I think I agree with both of you.
Right. So when you put energy towards something, right, you make something out of nothing, right? The fact that we became weathermen driving through the NBC parking lot, like, that was a far-fetched dream, but we put energy, and our imagination took us to where we should be and it pushed us to where we had to go. So to me, that was great. Something that, like, you manifest something out of nothing. It's just an imagination. It's just a dream, and you work towards it. Marcus Lemonis, being in the show, I started texting or tweeting him many, many times, putting myself in that it's already happened. This is how it's going to feel. This is how it's going to be. And once it actually happened, you're like, holy shit, we're on the show that we always dreamed of being on. So I think the dreaming part and the imagination part is great. But I think there's two things at stake. One is either it's a wrong timing for certain things. And, the guy is a great guy. Maybe in 10 years, you have a relationship. Who knows?
Yep,
or with that person that I'm talking about, maybe. We don't know. But the other thing is, I think we have to see the stop signs soon enough. And there are obstacles and there are stop signs. And I think obstacles, in anything, we have obstacles, right? And life is a whole bunch of obstacles. But when you hit a stop sign and red lights and red flags, we have to kind of stop and pause and say, okay, I'm going to take a step back. There's a reason there's a stop sign or a red flag in this, situationship. That's God's way of saying, okay, stop. The train's going to pass by, then you can't go.
Yep.
So I know as creatives, we imagine things, and I think imagination is great. But I think we have to also be realistic with certain things.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, in business, persistence is admirable.
So in
a relationship, persistence to try to be with somebody who does not want, who's not ready, it becomes annoying.
Yeah, but you still have to have persistence in
but then
pursuit.
Self-respect comes into play. That, dude, don't I value myself enough to stop knocking on this door?
Right, as soon as you see those red flags, you should have that self-respect and, step back and say, okay, this is what the universe is showing me. That's what she's or he's showing me. Let me take a step back and reevaluate and put my energy somewhere else. So one of the things about these dating apps that I was on is that people ask, if you want to be with me, you have to court me. You have to pursue me. And some guy had written, like in a blog that I was reading, he said, you tell people to court you and pursue you, okay? That means you're running away, right? That means you're like moving away. At which point do I pull back, right? And a woman has said, well, a woman's point of view is you still have to go because we like the feeling of being pursued. We like the feeling of someone like coming after us. And the second you stop that, don't think we're going to come back after you. We're going to think to ourselves, oh, this person didn't like me enough to. So she was basically saying, if there's 10 suitors, the one that outlasts everyone else in pursuing and courting will win me as a prize. And a lot of guys nowadays, they don't want to do that, because I'm like, how many dinners do I have to take you? how much of my time, 6 months of my time, do I have to put into this thing? Because I'm always an option with someone else. If I'm not the main catch, then forget it. So that's why I stopped doing this cat and mouse game. And you hear all the women say these apps are garbage because there's not a person serious enough to have a relationship with. Well, if your meaning of seriousness is someone has to invest 6 months of their time and compete with 5 other people who are giving you validation, like, no thanks, I don't want to be part of that. So that's one of the reasons I deleted it, because I didn't want to be part of this culture that I'm constantly chasing, constantly trying to prove myself. And the 1 or 2 people that have actually become friends with me or talked to me, they're the ones that I never pursued. They're the ones who they naturally would gravitate towards me because I'm a cool person, apparently, or I'm funny, or I'm like intellectual. So those are the ones that I enjoy more than the bimbos I find on these apps.
Well, you know what? I was watching this YouTube video. I believe it was Shapiro speaking with a woman guest. And the woman guest said it has become a problem for so many men to find good women because the women uphold themselves to some ridiculous standard, and the guys have to, do anything they can to get her attention. So now it is a concept called bro passport or bro passport, something like that. I got to look it up. But the whole notion is that men have given up on this bullshit of American dating culture because now they're going to South America, Russia, Ukraine, Southeast Asia to find women who are actually interested in having a relationship, willing to make sacrifices to make a relationship work, have the qualities of a traditional woman in the relationship. So American men are going to these places to find women now.
I don't blame them.
And that, it's so I guess, disheartening to see this, because women in this country, I don't know what pill they're taking or, how delusional they are, that now they feel they're so much better than men and they're a prize.
Yeah.
Men no longer are a prize. They're just like, okay, come along for the ride, you dog. Whereas I am the queen. So, screw that, dude. Look elsewhere.
Have you seen that? There's a bearded guy. I think it's called Whatever. He has a podcast. And he's a younger kid. He's probably in his early 30s. He has he talks to all these women who are on OnlyFans, and they're like all delusional about their value in society. And one of the things that he asked one of the girls was, be honest with me. Let's go around the room. There's like 10 of them sitting behind 10 microphones. Tell me what your score is from 0 to 10 or 1 to 10, right? There were some of the most average looking women I've seen. All of them said, 10, 9.5, 10, 10. And then the only person, she was an Asian American chick, she said, I'm a 5, 5.5, I'm a 6, right? And the guy said, the reason American men or men in general in today's society don't want to go out with someone like you is because you have this image of yourself that you're a 10. And you're looking for a 10. So if anyone who's not a top 1% earner or, has a private jet hits you up, you have this fake or this convoluted notion that you are a 10 and you deserve a 10. If you were to ask me, are you a 6.5, right? Look for a 6.5. That's why 85% of men on these dating apps never get a like or a conversation going with a woman, because only 15% of the men are getting all the 100% of the women. So to me, paying for that and being part of that thing, and I talked to one of my friends, she said, yeah, Bumble is free for women, or Hinge is free for women. I'm like, wait, what? She's like, oh yeah. All right, you guys have to pay for it? I'm like, hell yeah, I gotta pay for it. It's $60 a month for me. She's like, $60? You're paying $60 to look at women's pictures and no one will go out with you?
See, if a woman had to pay $60, they're like more men.
Yeah.
Because they're paying for it. They might as well find somebody.
Yeah.
So
to me, that was really weird. Like, the women get on there, just like, old days when we used to go to a friend's, grand opening of a bar or a club.
All the women free.
All the women go in for free and the guys will follow. Same thing with Bumble and Hinge. They let in the women either at a discounted price or for free. So guys would come in and start like, bidding on these women.
There has to be a lawsuit there somewhere, dude.
There is. I've actually seen many ads pop up on my Instagram saying, "Are you a male on Bumble? You're owed $4,000." I'm like, hell yeah, right? And if the other one can, give me another $4,000 Bumble, or Hinge can be giving another $4,000, I got $8,000 in my pocket, bro.
Down payment on the card, dude.
Yeah. So, it's a wacky world out there. So the minute you withdraw from needing something or someone to complete you, and you just work on completing yourself, I think that's when you have people who match your energy come into your life.
I think you almost have to be arrogant as fuck, right? Be confident in who you are. Say, you know what?
Yeah.
I deserve the best.
Yeah.
And not settle for anything.
Yeah. But I think there's a lot of trauma healing that needs to happen
Yeah.
in that time span before you can say that and actually mean it.
Like
Yeah.
how would you do the trauma healing?
Well, you gotta, like, I have this lady that I contact, psychologist, and I've told her about certain things that happened to me in the dating world. And she said, well, it's probably your dad. You need your dad's attention, which maybe subconsciously I did when I was a kid, but now I don't. Like, I think to myself, I'm like, well, no, I was fine. But she has me look at things in a different perspective and then question certain things that I'm doing and seeing if that's adding to me or taking away from me. So when I look at a situation where someone that I'm chasing doesn't give me the time of day, her response to me to a long text that's like full of love and, how are you doing? How are, your kids? How is this? How is that? By the way, da, da, da. And her answer is like, haha, okay. There's no, so I take a step back. I'm like, wait a minute. Here I am, by the way, royalty. Okay. For those of you who don't know.
For those who don't know by now,
Yeah.
royal blood in these two.
Royal blood in these two. I'm this. I've helped my parents from the day we were 16, 17 years old. We helped them buy their houses or cars or whatever. We're doing well for ourselves. We have kids. They look up to us. We're great dads. We're great friends and or co-parents and or
Brothers.
husbands or brothers or whatever. We're all that. And for someone to look at me, take my text message that I've put a lot of heart and intention in and just say, okay, sometimes it's just a K because the O was too much for her to type in. You look at yourself, you're like, is this really what I deserve? Who is this person that I'm like sucking up to? Why am I doing this? So a lot of things that the psychologist tells you, a lot of the things that, I start realizing and having, awareness about. You look at that situation, you step back, you're like, if this was my brother or sister or best friend, what would I tell this person to do? And once you do it enough times and you detach yourself eventually, then you look at that person as a broken person who doesn't have their head screwed on right.
Yeah, one thing I said, which was brilliant in your words.
Today?
No, just, I said it a few times. So now, and this applies to both sexes. I told you what, look at women, I don't mean in a bad way, but look at women as a male without a penis. And for you to look at a man as a woman with a penis. Once you really break it down into the most basic element that they're just a human being with an extra organ or different organ, you don't see them as a, oh my God, a man, oh my God, a woman. You see them as a person that has faults just like anybody else. And that's how I used to deal with these things. I would see them, what the heck are you going like crazy over this chick for? It's just a human being without a penis.
Well, I think that would definitely, I agree with you 100%.
I know it's not deep or anything, but I think gets to the...
No, it does. It does.
the
And
point.
and I think if you ever see something about Mary, you haven't watched
It's on
it
my
yet.
list.
It's been 2 years we've known you.
It's a long list.
This was the day you started working.
This is your
have
first
you
homework,
seen-
bro. Bruh.
So anyway, if you've seen that movie, I'm not gonna give away the ending.
yeah, please don't, because I've
No.
still got to watch it.
It's a real,
It's a
work
really
of
great
art.
movie, actually.
In one scene, Ben Stiller is given the advice that if you really want to be real and understand your feelings for somebody, you got to go out with the empty
Gun.
gun, right? So he urges Ben Stiller's character to, pleasure himself before the date arrives. That way he can be real. That way he doesn't have this cloudiness in his brain or this need to like do different things just because he wants to get in her pants. And I thought that was one of the most truest things about men, right? A lot of men pursue women, especially nowadays, these broken men on Hinge and Bumble. They want to get sex, they want to get validation, they want to feel like they belong or whatever. But if they take the time to milk themselves and then see if they want to pursue the same person with the same intensity or not, right? And I realized that if most of these men who are going after these broken men going after broken women, they actually took care of business themselves. She did it herself and he did it himself, and they got on a phone call. Would they have anything to talk about? Would they still have that pull? Mm-hmm. And I'd say 90% of them won't. So that is a moment of clarity that you understand. This is like a chemical in my body that is attracting me to this
driving
feeling,
you to do this, all this shit.
To this feeling that I'm going to get. And that's the whole thing. So afterwards, if after both people have had their moment of climax, they're going to be the truest that there will ever be.
And that's why so many men, they all of a sudden have to leave because they cannot stand being next to that person.
They don't want to cuddle. They just want to leave the next day. All of a sudden they become farmers, as Elaine from Seinfeld said. All the guys all of a sudden become farmers. They got to wake up early in the morning. I got to wake up at 3, So in the dating world, I think if you take a step back, you don't have
to conclude yet.
No, you don't have to conclude nothing, dude.
Well, my point, in conclusion
to your point, yeah.
Yeah. In conclusion to my point, if you are just like me and you've been burnt or upset or felt like this is not working for me, the dating world is not working for me, pull the plug on those apps, pull the plug on all these things that give you validation, external validation, and turn inward and see what can I do to give myself the love I'm willing to give away to someone else. And so for me, if I take care of myself, if I get good sleep, if I go take a nice bath without my kids, yanking on my hair. You thought I'm going somewhere else, right?
Sure did.
And you start doing that stuff for yourself and you respect yourself to a point that you're like, wait a minute. Who was that person chasing this being, this incomplete being, this trauma-laced being, just because I had a need to feel validated, because I had a need to have my whatever?
Yes.
So then you become real. Then you see things for what they are.
Yep.
And there's no more glassy, rosy colored glasses in front of you. And you can make those decisions. And then once you stand up tall, say, I don't need anyone, that's when the right people will start falling into place.
Yep.
Remember what Grandpa used to say on the dad's side? He would say,
the shadow thing?
The opposite sex. It's like a shadow. You walk towards them, they go away. You walk away, they chase you.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. When you don't need somebody, you feel like, oh, now they all of a sudden they value you.
Yeah.
But when you need somebody, they're like, eh.
Yeah, I used to count the number of minutes or hours between when they texted me last, or when I saw them last, or when I got a phone call from them last, that it was so stressful to go through my day knowing, oh, I texted this person at 9:15, it's 9:44, and she hasn't texted me back.
That's a sickness.
But after the fact, after you have this realization and self,
now you don't give a shit.
Now you say, oh, when was Monday? Text her back. Oh, it was last Monday. Okay, good. I no longer count the days or the hours that have gone by. I'm like, whatever, dude. Like, good. I no longer give a shit about any of that.
Good.
Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle. Are you familiar with?
Yeah.
The absolutely. Power of Now and a few other
E.T.
A few other things, but I can't think of.
Yeah, the power.
It's the big one. He calls it a pain body. And he says there is basically a need inside of you, which is a moment that there was a fracture of your consciousness due to trauma, usually early on. And this pain body, if you feed it, it will take over you as a person.
Yeah.
And it's this driving need that will say, no, I need this. And it could be chaos. It could be drama. It could be anger. It could be the need for validation. It could be anything. But it will, like, he almost describes it as a virus that hijacks the main system. And when you finally let that pain body go, and of course he describes in the book, it's usually about becoming aware and doing what you did, which is having that in the mirror moment of like, who am I and what is this?
Yeah.
Like, this is not me. What is this thing?
Yeah.
And when you look at that and you process it, you become like a different person because it's no longer the parasite is no longer in charge.
Yeah. It's kind of like being addicted to sugar, right? Because after a while, you don't care what it's doing to your body. You don't care if you're eating donuts at the 7-Eleven at 2:00 in the morning, or you're having hiding M&Ms in your pocket. It becomes something like that, and then there's an aha moment. There's a what the fuck are you doing moment with that, with any addiction, that you have to stand in front of the mirror and say, are you serious? Like, I'm sitting here in the parking lot of a 7-Eleven in Carlsbad, California, which I did one time, eating those, paraffin chocolate donuts, those mini donuts that taste like paraffin. I'm like, what am I doing? It's 2:00 in the morning just because I came out from a restaurant with my ex-girlfriend 2 hours ago. Why am I eating this like an animal in the corner of like with shame? And to me, I was just feeding that need that I had. And I didn't care how I got it, but I used to get it. And the day you look at yourself in the mirror, or like you look at the rear view mirror, you just plop it down to your eye level, you're like, what are you doing? Right? And you roll down the window and you throw it out. Hopefully it lands in a
Trash
dumpster.
can. Sure.
Trash
Hope
can.
it doesn't
Yeah.
land somewhere.
Then
public.
but you have to kind of hit,
Yeah.
the bottom of, because it's not going to happen if someone gives you an advice. Like if my brother says, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. I'm like, yeah, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
But you have to experience that pain of like that disappointment in yourself.
Yeah.
That you're like, what the fuck did I just do?
Yeah. You have to reawaken the you-ness.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if an addiction or a need is like another, almost like an entity,
Yeah.
you have to remember for a moment, like get away from the amnesia and be like, wait, who am I? The real person. Because I think what we have both experienced, and you probably have too, Kevin, at different periods of time, is when you break out of the haze, you're like, oh my gosh, I'd forgotten who I was.
Yeah.
I lost touch with the actual me that is me.
Yeah.
I got lost in another reality. Like I said earlier, like you just align so hard with another universe.
And you change yourself for them. Like I changed myself. I started acting a little bit differently. Like I'm a macho man because I've seen the kind of guys you look at from Omer. No, be yourself. Like whatever you are, you're gonna attract the. So if you put on a fake, personality,
You'll attract fake.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think my advice to you, like I said, it seems like made in the USA, not the great quality right now. You gotta go overseas for that, just like you go for your shoes and boots.
I wouldn't put it that way. I wouldn't go that far. Thanks for the advice, though. I think if you if you go on a dating app with no intention but just to get laid, and then having a relationship is secondary, which most of these guys and girls on there are. They just need validation or sex or whatever. Or they're getting too old and they're like, shoot, I gotta
And that's exactly what I said. I said I think people are on those apps for the wrong reasons.
That's why you don't go on those apps anymore. That's why I don't.
Exactly. So you gotta say, screw that, no more that.
But I'm not gonna go to like Chile or Vietnam to find somebody.
Colombia, man, that's where it's at.
Colombia. Have you seen 90 Day Fiance?
It's Colombia.
No, but we've talked about this exact episode before.
Yeah. So you're right. Maybe the people.
I am right. I think you don't have to do it. I'm just saying generally, the women in other countries have not been brainwashed by the same bullshit of American women that they're on a pedestal. I don't know why. They actually want to create a relationship. Right. They want it to work. They want to sacrifice. They want to compromise.
The ones that I've noticed don't have social media are the ones who are down to earth. People who I meet who have social media and like they're obsessed with like I'm following, whatever, Kylie Jenner, I'm following this and that. They're the ones who have a weird grasp of reality.
You can find those anywhere in any culture. They're gonna be chicks like that, women like that. I'm saying from a cultural standpoint, where the culture has not been fucked up by you are the king of the world. Anybody that wants you needs to prove themselves, with 15 different tests. People in the different parts of the world are not like that. They genuinely want a relationship. They genuinely want it to work. They genuinely work towards it.
Well, we can't make it a general statement because probably half of those people want to come to the United States and get a green card. Like, I don't know about that. So we can't just say that's, everyone over there
I said culture. Don't bring him here. I said culturally, people in other parts of the world are more still in the 40-year ago train of thought of this is a man's role, this is a woman's role. If I find a good man who has this and this, I could be Andrew.
Andrew, is that you?
But people in this country, from what I hear from you, they want money, they want cars, they want status, they want GQ, they want perfect teeth, perfect muscles, perfect this, perfect that. Ideally, every man wants a perfect woman too. But men, they're like, you know what? That's just an ideology of me wanting the perfect thing, but that's not real. Everybody has faults. So men accept women that don't have 10 out of 10 in every category. They accept that, and they want it to still work. But
that's actually true. That's actually true because I've listened to many podcasts, and
but the women,
90% of men, to your point, 90% of men will love a woman for who they are, right?
10% of the women will love the man for who they are.
Right. One of the things I was reading and listening to all these podcasts was that men, and Chris Rock, or was it Chris Rock who said the same joke, that there's a condition to love a man. As long as he can provide and make me feel safe, I'll love him. But the minute he does not or cannot, that's when she's going to go finding someone else. So when they say till death do us part for rich or poor, that's all bullshit because a man will say it, meaning it. The woman says it, but there's a big asterisk that no one wants to admit to. But 90% of the women, that's what they do. That's why 90% of the women create or perpetuate the divorce. Now, a lot of them could be problems in the marriage, which I get it. But I've seen single women who go they start salivating over a guy who could be looking creepy, but he's standing in front of his Mercedes Maybach or whatever, or in front of a jet that he has. And he says, oh, I'm a CEO of this company. All of a sudden, their defenses come down. All the red flags go away. And that person becomes who they want to be with.
Andrew?
On another, for men, if I see someone, and I've said this before, if I see a good-looking or average, higher than average woman who has a nice heart, who appreciates you and works at Denny's, I don't care what her education is, what her financial things are. I'd rather have that than someone who's constantly looking over her shoulder to see who she's competing with. Like, what are the Joneses doing? Why am I with this guy when I can't be with that guy? Because women they're constantly trying to find someone better in terms of strength, security, all that stuff. Women are constantly looking for that. Men aren't. We're not looking for that. We're looking for stability. We're looking for someone that we can grow old with, that we can take care of them, and vice versa. It's not like, oh, what can you do for me? So when my ex-wife and her friend, we were all talking 15 years ago, and they said, what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine, as a joke. And me and the boyfriend of the girl, we looked at each other, we're like, fuck that. They said, oh, we're kidding. But I think in this today's society, if I find a broke woman, I don't care. I'm going to have her come to my house. I'll pay her way to go to school, find her, buy new dresses, buy new whatever, buy a car for her. But a rich woman isn't going to do that for a man most of the time, unless she's a cougar in Newport Beach looking for a young fuck. So women there's a condition under love. Unless it's their baby, there's conditions. Men don't have conditions. So it's unfortunate, but I think once you go on a dating app and you find these people, you just swipe left and just move on.
Your conditions that you just mentioned, from my studies, and I do quite a bit of studying, and you know that.
He has his PhD, by the way.
It's attached to the American belief system of who women are. That is not the norm in other countries, South America, Asia, Europe, Eastern Europe. Women are not trained that way. They are trained in their DNA to be a partner, to be by your side, to help you, to cook for you, to clean for you. I'm not saying that's a good stuff either, but I'm saying it shows that they want it to work. I think girls here don't want it to work, dude. They just want it to work for them.
So I think those values are, passed down from grandma or great grandma to grandma, grandma to mom, mom to child. But I think the fact that now we have social media and everyone around the world, including the Asians and the South Americans or whatever that you were talking about, they're going to be exposed to a certain amount of glamour and certain amount of lifestyle that they now want. I don't think it's like as innocent as you think it is, or they are, as pure or whatever. I think having an Instagram account or Facebook account kind of brainwashes everyone nowadays and shows them that, oh, if you can find a guy who can, take you places, buy things for you, take you on his yacht, that would be a better quality man than someone who's hardworking, goes and paves streets all day and comes home with his paycheck and wants to spend it on you. That's not as sexy as it is guy with a yacht.
Amanda, you seem to be falling asleep. Your thoughts? Are you awake?
We're even listening.
Yes, I'm awake. I'm listening. What do you mean my thoughts? Like, just ask me a question.
Because here we're two men having this discussion about women as to what the American woman's delusional...
I don't think it's American per se. I think it's, most women love men on certain conditions. You have to be able to provide. You have to be able to.
But it's also a cultural thing. It's also a cultural thing, dude.
It's all like once we went to Korea, the airport, 250 of those stores were just makeup and everything else. Like everything's superficial now, right? Yes, you can find more.
You can look good, but that doesn't mean your upbringing, your perception of a relationship changes.
Actually, because social media and YouTube and everything is everywhere now, even the ones that you thought are, in it for traditional values are no longer being fed the same narrative anymore. So what Kevin and I are discussing, which we want your opinion on, is do you believe most women love a man unconditionally, no matter how poor, broke, ugly, unmuscular he is, or the minute his money runs out, the minute his health runs out, they're willing to bail ship and go to the next person? Like with my relationship, my ex didn't see me as being the traveling type after a certain age, so she bailed.
Yeah. I think what we're discussing is toxic femininity. I think there's a counterpart called toxic masculinity. Mm-hmm. And I think aside from both, then they're just people. Like you said, people with genitals that are different, but their behaviors are the same. I will never subscribe to the notion that men and women think differently. I will never subscribe to the notion that men and women are fundamentally different in behavior, needs, or wants. My thought is instead that culture influences them in different ways. And the lower you go on the totem pole as far as education, life experience, and personal self-love, the more you're going to find this toxic behavior in both categories. I also believe that a woman who can't unconditionally love a man can't do it because she can't unconditionally love herself. I believe that a man who can't unconditionally love a woman can't do it because he can't unconditionally love himself. I don't think these are gender issues. I think these are human issues. So I do enjoy this conversation. And I agree with most of what's being said, but I think it applies to generations that are quickly dying off. The superficiality at some point society will realize it doesn't serve. But right now, I've said it before, women are kind of having their moment to be on the same level as men socioeconomically. So they're exhibiting a lot of the immature behavior that men were exhibiting at another time. You know, it's like their moment to be 12-year-old boys, 15-year-old boys, whatever. There's a lot of immaturity. But I do believe that if we love ourselves unconditionally and we make ourselves a vibrational match to that type of behavior, we can't help but attract people on that level of both genders. And then you can have your pick. I don't think there's a shortage of excellence as long as we're willing to become excellent ourselves.
Well said. Well said. You're absolutely right. It does apply to everybody. You just have to, in my opinion, yes, you have to love yourself, but you also have to have the capability to love somebody no matter how good they are, how good looking they are, how bad looking they are, how much money they have, how much money they don't have. Put the superficial shit, to the side, because at the end, everybody loses their looks. Everybody may lose their money, but what's left is just two kind people, appreciating each other and valuing each other.
Triple Shot Mindset.